6th anniversary, my mom gave me a Bible readings for the home book, and I was really angry at her that she'd given me something that I really didn't need, like I was hoping she would give me money. So I took the book home and I put it on a bookshelf where I lived, and there it stayed for many years before I actually come to know the Lord. I have 2 sons, and what I was doing was I was working in this building where we're sitting right now, and I actually worked for General Electric, and I didn't realize that there were 5 engineers upstairs in the very back offices where Jerry Jr.'s office is now that were praying for me to be saved. They knew I was unsaved. I thought I was saved because my mom had taken me to church my whole life since I was a little girl. If you asked me if I was saved, I said I was saved. But those men knew I was unsaved, and they started praying for me. But the whole story is that I came under deep conviction reading this book. It felt I was actually dusting. I used to do all my housework on Sunday, and I was dusting the bookcase, and this book fell out of the bookcase to this chapter about Christ's second coming. And I started reading this book, and under deep conviction, I would go back over and over again because I was frightened that I was going to go to hell. Not knowing that people were praying for me, I started reading this book. And I got up one Sunday and I told my husband, this was in September of '65, I said, I'm going to go to church. And he goes, what? And so I said, well, the boys need to go to church. I want them to go. I had 2 sons then. And I started going to church, taking them to Thomas Road. I don't know why I even chose Thomas Road, but I just started going to Thomas Road to church. And that went on until December the 12th, 1965. I was standing in my kitchen on Wigington Road after reading this book constantly, all the time. I would go and hide and read it because I didn't want my husband to know that I was reading it. But I was under such deep conviction that I was going to be left, that I was going to go to hell. I kept going to Thomas Road, and I was standing in my kitchen on Wigington Road on December the 12th, 1965, when if you go into the library down here, that camera that Dr. Jerry has in his library, I was looking into that on Wigington Road, and he said, if you will believe that God raised Jesus from the dead, you'll be saved. And God saved me on December the 12th, 1965. I got in my car. It was on a Sunday. I got in my car to go, and my husband said, he said, I'm going to have to send you to a mental institution or something, because I took off my apron where I was cooking, and went to Thomas Road and went forward to tell the people I had been saved. And I believe with all my heart, if it hadn't been for this book, I wouldn't. God used this for my salvation. And that's why I love the people, that carry the books. But I was actually, what brought me to salvation was that book. Although I had gone to church my whole life. Now tell me why my heart wasn't open. You know what? You can go to church and go to church and go to church and be lost as a doorknob. Because my mom took us 3 times a day to church. That's why I love Glenn and this book selling thing, because my mom bought that book from somebody that came to her house she lived on near the plaza, I don't know what that street is, Oakley Avenue. She lived over there, and a boy came to the door selling those books, and she bought that book. So to me, what they're doing is like, they don't know the far-reaching results of that. I don't know who sold that book to my mother, but it was a young man, and I became saved by it, and God only knows the people's lives that I have touched here in 37 years because of that. I never would have come here to work. I just say keep on, because you are doing what God wants you to do, and even though you may not think you're making a difference, He may not have made a lot of money. But He was the reason for my salvation. And I will always be grateful. All of that was God's plan. And I think God uses those people that are out there. They may not realize that you may not sell but one book. But look at your rewards in heaven, what they're going to be if somebody's saved. because every time that you touch somebody, you're going to have a part of their reward in heaven. And that's the thing that they need to look at, not so much how do they sell. They may never sell but one book. But if somebody becomes saved by that one book like me, and then God gives me a job to touch millions of lives, I've touched, only God knows, in 37 years. And they always come back. And I've led dozens and dozens and dozens of kids to the Lord. And I would, if I hadn't been saved, all because of that book. I really believe in these kids selling those books. Two things he would always say to me. One of them is, I've got it typed here, I'll read this. He says, I used to I'd say somebody's picking on me, and he would say, because I am in right standing with God, he surrounds me with favor. Therefore, I have no need to manipulate anyone for personal gain or advantage. He taught me that. But the other thing, the real thing that he would teach me, because I would whine, and he would go, stop whining. And then he would say this to me. He said, God knew your life, the beginning from the end, long before you were ever born. And if he'd have wanted to change it, he could have, so suck it up. I'm sorry. And I mean, a million times I would call me a crying. Somebody did something to me, and he'd say, Evelyn, how many times do I have to tell you that God knew before you were born, from the foundation of the earth, everything that was going to happen to you till the day you died? He did not change it, so suck it up.